Knock, knock. Who's there? The shit you don't want to look at. And all the things that R. Kelly is reflecting back to our community about our dysfunction. Now, you know a concept that black folks don't tend to do well with? Duality, paradox. The fact that two contradictory truths can exist at the exact same place at the exact same time within the exact same person. John Legend tweeted a little bit earlier. He said, it's very easy to stand up and speak out against a serial child rapist. He said it costs him nothing to do so. And that's just it to me, right? Monsters are convenient for our sense of moral strength, pride, and superiority, right? Monsters are convenient. They're easy to cast aside. We like to paint with these broad strokes, right? But condemning monsters is one thing. Preventing monsters is another. And what if I told you that deplatforming R. Kelly, incarcerating him, getting the brother therapy, and never listening to his music again will not be enough to keep women safe in the future? Nuance, taking a fine-tooth comb, looking at causality without excusing the fuck shit, just might. R. Kelly embodies what is beautiful and gross about our culture at the exact same time, right? That duality, that paradox, right? He is broken brilliance incarnate, a reflection of an unkillable people. But you don't get to be unkillable and unscarred at the same time. He got the story from the bottom. Now he's here. Couldn't read, got molested, wasn't very literate, but he came up and became a star, right? And when he stepped into the spotlight and took on that shine, a shadow came with him. The shadow of molestation, right? And it's interesting to me, right? This chain of child sexual victimization can be traced all the way back to the plantation, y'all. And when you look at the fact that, like, the sexual activity that our forebearers were forced to endure while they were children set up the cultures of the sexual proclivities of certain families, and it was easy to pass that shit down in the dark, in the shadows, so no one was looking beneath a veneer of Christian shame and guilt. So, baby, don't talk about that. Just pray, right? Just pray all that shit away. Look how one molested boy broke so many lives. And ask yourself, is there a little future star in my family? Somebody who actually could rise to the top one day, that is afraid to speak out. Why do they feel afraid? And can I be the ear for that little person? A little boy, a little girl, somebody who's enduring the molestation at the hands of a family member right now. And let's look at the culture that makes stars. And I'm not just talking about the Hollywood elite and the machine that comes with making people be standouts in the limelight. I'm talking about us who like and thirst to imbue talented people with godlike power and then be suddenly surprised when they abuse that shit, man. I mean, look at how power, wealth, and fame turns us into enablers, right? And how those forces are factors that dull our moral compass. Look at the brother who fixed the papers so that Aaliyah and R. Kelly can be married. Look at the bodyguards. Brothers, look at how we enable toxic alphas in our circles, right? Look at even the young people who are afraid to actually stand up and say, I saw R. Kelly having sex with Aaliyah and that shit just did not feel right, right? What leads us to abandon what we know is right in the face of power, wealth, and fame? Because when we listen to his music, I don't think that it's a coincidence that sometimes we feel like we've been accomplices to the brother. Like we feel like we've actually allowed ourselves to be a part of the crimes that he was committing. And maybe that's a discomfort, a dissonance, and a cognitive dissonance, I suppose, that we should sit with, right? The star makers are a part of the problem just as much as the star is. What feels like is missing in our community is rites of passage. Look at the age that R. Kelly completed his cycle of molestation. He said it happened from 7 to 14. Look at the age of the girls that he was targeting, between the ages of 14 and 16, right? Around that time, wise elders in our indigenous communities, when we were living with our true selves and our true habitat, would take boys and girls of that age and initiate them through trials of self-mastery that will make them worthy to carry the mantle of man or woman. Because what is a fuckboy, y'all, but an uninitiated man? Somebody who has inherited the body of the man, but not the mind of a man, and not the emotional intelligence of one either. And I want you to ask yourself another question. Who would you be if no one ever told you no again? What kind of unhealed shit would you be inclined to indulge if you had all of the financial and social access to do so? It's a toxic mirror. But R. Kelly is showing us ourselves and the things we haven't healed. And I don't think we should like resist that shit, right? It's easy to be like, oh, fuck that nigga. He nasty. Throw all his shit away, right? And trust me, the brother made his bed and he got to sleep now. So ain't nobody up here encouraging this kind of behavior. But what part do we play in this shit? I think that's the hardest examination of all. Because there's a sickness that he reveals about ourselves. And nobody gets well until they are sick of their sickness. Are we, as a people, sick of our sickness? I think that is the most important thing that this R. Kelly situation could make us ask. I'm Theo E.J. Wilson. Until next time, holla at your boy.